Hello, and welcome to the TAPED podcast, the questionably best podcast in the world. I'm David.
Come on, I'm Michal.
Michael.
Louis? Fuck you. I'm Louis.
And I'm Michael.
Are you the guy that made Jedward?
Fuck you.
Yeah. Today's episode of the Tape Podcast, we're going to be talking about Kanye West. We're going to be doing a worst to best, ranking all his albums, including his 2 collab albums. So
not including Cruel Summer.
Cruel Summer.
Yeah, because let's be real, that's not a Kanye album.
It's a various artists compilation, so we're forgetting that. We're going to be picking our favorite songs from each of the albums as well, and our least favorite songs. So yeah, let's get on with it.
Well, before we start, should we just give a little shout out to Neil Peart, the best drummer of all time?
Oh yeah, rest in peace to
Neil Peart.
Neil Peart. Peart, it's Peart, I think.
I know it's Peart. I do know.
Yeah, it's Peart. So yeah, rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Okay,
This is a respectful podcast.
who wants to go first?
Should we do the same order as last week? Or
Yeah, I'll go.
I don't remember what that was.
All right, it was me, then Louis, then David, then Mihao.
Mihal.
Yeah, okay. So for my number 11 pick, I chose Watch the Throne.
Okay. For my number 11 pick, I picked Jesus is King.
All right.
Mine's Kids See Ghosts.
Oh no. Oh no.
Mine's 808 and Heartbreak.
That's respectable.
Heartbreak is Michael right about now.
Yes, I am heartbroken.
Sorry.
Okay, Watch the Throne. I quite enjoy Watch the Throne. It's honestly a pretty decent album. I think Jay-Z and Kanye West had great chemistry together on a lot of songs, especially on like songs like Otis and No Church in the Wild. And I like how there was like a decent mix between like conscious tracks and like braggadocious tracks. And yeah, it's kind of a nice even like subject matter for it. And some of the beats on the album, they seem very dated now. Like the beat for Who Gon' Stop Me is just like a really shitty like
Yeah.
dubstep mixed up like an already good Kanye song. And a lot of them just seem very tacky, and plus Jay-Z isn't even on his lyrical prime on this album. So yeah, Watch the Throne at 11.
Okay, so I chose Jesus is King as number 11. To be fair, I don't really like this album at all. I don't really think it's very... I guess it's his most emotionally honest album, I guess you could say. It's very much his own kind of personal thing. It's not like his other works, I'd say. It's his own, it's what he wants to do rather than what people expect him to do, which I kind of respect in a way. But at the same time, I don't think it's really some of his best stuff at all. I mean, it's down at number 11 for a fucking reason, right? I don't know. I just wasn't really... I'm not being religious myself. It's just kind of made me a little bit distant from the album as is. So it didn't really click with me so much. I can imagine it clicking with people who are Christian, or I don't know, something like that. But it didn't really resonate with me. I didn't think didn't really like many of the beats. They're kind of bland and boring. That's why it's at number 11 for me.
Okay, David.
Now, David.
No, you better have some good explanations.
I feel like I'm underprepared to argue for this. I just didn't find it that interesting. It kind of bored me for most of it. It's just kind of bland, like piano tracks with lo-fi beats for half of it.
Piano tracks?
Right.
Well, not piano tracks, but a lot of it
That was
was
like-
just...
That was like one song in that whole album.
Well, if it is, that's all I remember. But yeah, just for me, a lot of like forgettable tracks and yeah, annoying vocals on some of it. Like the free, that just annoyed the shit out of me. The whole song, couldn't listen to it more than once. But
All right.
sorry.
Oh god, this is the first pick. There's already a big controversy here.
Oh yeah.
What was mine? 808s and Heartbreak. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think this is a pretty good album, all things considered. Like it's I don't think it's one of his lyrically more impressive albums. I don't find the lyrics to be very interesting on this one. However,
It's
I
because
do give
Kid
it.
Cudi wrote them.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
actually didn't know that.
yeah. He
I was-
co-wrote most of the album.
um, um, well, it definitely deserves credit for like how influential the production has come to be on just hip hop and music as a whole. But like the album itself doesn't really just doesn't quite sit with me. There's some tracks on here that I really don't like that much. And I still think it's worthy, like worth listening to. But in a career full of amazing records, I think this is just above average.
Okay, fair enough.
I actually didn't know the thing about Cuddy.
Yeah. Okay,
Well,
so
favorite tracks, right?
okay, my
Yeah.
favorite tracks from Watch the Throne were No Church in the Wild, Otis, and the one where they were in Paris.
Okay.
And my least favorite song was That's My Bitch.
Oh, so we're allowed to say the B word. That's sexist. Yeah. Okay.
It's a
They're
female
meant to be
dog.
bitches.
Yeah, I have a female dog. I'm allowed to say this.
Yeah.
So for best song on Jesus is King, I put Water, and for the worst song, I put All. Just kind of crap.
Oh
Say.
god.
Or is it called All? I can't remember. Fuck. I might put it down wrong. Fuck. Hold on.
Oh, I thought you said all.
Oh,
I
you
thought
meant
you
All,
the rest
all
of
of
the
the
tracks.
I'm just retarded. I put down the wrong thing. It was Use This Gospel. Jesus Christ. Or no, sorry.
Use This
Why not?
I bet.
Gospel is one of the best tracks on the album.
I bet it was just me saying like all, as in all the other ones are just not good. Probably actually what it was. Fuck. Anyways.
David.
Feel I Love is probably my favorite track, and Free is definitely my least favorite. The rest of them are just kind of meh.
And my favorites are Heartless, Paranoid, and Street Nights. My least favorite is RoboCop. Okay. Number, what is it now?
10.
10.
10.
Okay. We'll
My
go through
number
them again.
my number 10 pick is Jesus is King.
My number 10 pick is Yee.
Mine's 808 and Heartbreak.
Yeah.
Yee.
Mine's Watch the Throne.
Okay, well, I chose Jesus is King mostly because the album itself just comes off very rushed and it's a bit of a cluttered mess. Mostly because, like, lyrically, like a lot of the like lyrics on Jesus King, a lot of them are just really bad. Like the Chick-fil-A lines, no,
Yeah.
and what if Eve made apple juice? Like,
Yeah, that's a good one.
If she did, though, what would
I'm just
happen?
not cultured. That's a good one.
It's just how Kanye thinks.
Thank you,
Well,
Kanye. Very cool.
Thank you, Kanye.
like some of the songs that were put on Jesus is King were from Yandi. Like some of them, like Salah was supposed to be on Yandi. Everything We Need was something else on Yandi, and it all just feels kind of rushed. But honestly, there are standout tracks on here. I thought Use This Gospel was one of the best tracks on the album, mostly because like Kenny G's sax solo, and there was Eclipse reunion. That's always good.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that was and Salah was such a good track. Fucking those dramatic drums throughout the beat. Those were incredible. Yeah, so like the way Kanye presents himself as a Christian on this album, it kind of made me think that he's not really sure about what it actually means to be a Christian. That's like what I'm getting from all that sort of shit.
He's
Like,
defeated like the whole purpose of the album. He's literally just defeated because he doesn't know what he's talking about.
yeah, but there were highlights like I said, Use This Gospel, and I thought Follow God was cool. We got like the sample on that kind of hinted at old Kanye, So I can appreciate that. So yeah, that's why I have Jesus is King at number 10.
Now, talking about rushed albums, here's Ye.
It's Yay, fucking
Whatever.
moron.
I don't care. I
Just
don't
saying, putting Ye that low is making me
Just-
sad as well.
Yeah.
literally, all right, listen. I'm saying the name wrong because I just don't care for this album. It's 24 minutes of just rushed, low quality garbage. I hate to be that mean, but it's not good at all. Like, it could have used quite a lot more time in the oven before it was released, man. It just isn't good enough. There's some good tracks on it, I will say. Ghost Town, I in particular really, really liked. I thought it was very good. But this album like contains some of the worst lyrics I've heard in my fucking life. One of my favorites that I put down here is none of us would be here without cum.
That isn't 100% true.
No, what about the
great-
line about? Oh wait,
No,
was that on?
it was.
What album was? What song was? I love your boobs because they.
Oh, that's
focus
you.
on
Yeah.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
All Mine.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
that one made me laugh when I first heard it.
That was fucking
It's-
ridiculous.
Like, I'd laugh at it as well, but like it's so shit. It's not like worth talking about. It's just terrible. I also think like, you know, I apparently heard like rumors that it was written in fucking days, and it really does feel like that kind of. It doesn't feel like any effort was really put into it. It was just pushed out the door as it was, just not fucking ready for release at all. That's why I put it at number 10.
It was probably a label thing for that because it was rushed. It was probably the
Maybe,
label.
yeah. But anyways, it is not a good album, and it is number 10.
Okay, David.
Yeah, I had 808s and Heartbreak. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of most of the beats and instrumentation on this, as well as some of there was like weird vocal effects on a lot of the tracks that just kind of didn't sit right with me. But like, it wasn't a bad album altogether. I did appreciate some of there's like sentiment on earlier tracks, which was nice after like Graduation, which is one of his more braggy albums. But what are you laughing at me for?
I'm not laughing.
Wow. Okay. Someone.
I'm
edit that, please.
joking. Edit everything out.
Get
That's
on with
history revision.
What am I saying? Yeah, I wasn't sure about the live version of Pinocchio story he put on the end of it, but after a few I re-listened to it, and it's kind of cool, like the contrast between him talking about how he like doesn't want the famous life and how he like wants to know what it's like to be a normal person, and then you've like the crowd screaming at him in the background, and it's just like a really nice contrast. Like, I don't actually enjoy the song, but it's kind of cool at the same time. But yeah, so like I liked a couple of the tracks, but altogether it was just kind of dated and didn't really enjoy all of it. He has a lot of better albums, basically.
Mm. Well, I went with Watch the Throne, and I see this album getting a lot of just like straight up hate, and I think it's a bit underrated. I think it's still a good album. Both Kanye and Jay are not on their best form, obviously lyrically or flow-wise. They've both released way better stuff, but they're still in good form. They're still making good music. There's some good lyrics on here. Songs
Like
are well written.
that line on the first track, that Kanye said. What was it? Like
I
something
don't
about a zebra.
know. Do you remember it? I don't.
Coke on a black skin made a stripe like a zebra. I call that jungle fever.
It's good.
Yeah.
I think the
Shakespeare.
biggest problem I have with this one is the production. Like Michael said, there's some of the like songs just sound really dated. Like there's some songs that make this album sound even older than it is, and yeah, just compared to especially the production on a lot of other Kanye albums, just not up there with the best. But all in all, I think it's a good album.
All right. Okay, best songs from each of our picks. My favorite songs from Jesus is King was Selah, Use This Gospel, and On God, and my least favorite track was Water.
For Ye, my best track would be Yikes, and worst song would be No Mistakes.
For 808s and Heartbreak, Best song, Heartless, and worst song, RoboCop.
Watch the Throne. My favorite songs would be New Day, No Church in the Wild, In Paris, and my worst song would be Who Gonna Stop Me. Right, number 9.
My number 9 pick is Graduation.
My number 9 pick is Life of Pablo.
Mine is Jesus the King.
Mine is Kids See Ghost.
Oh my
See,
fucking
Ghost
god.
singular.
Oh, Ghosts, yeah.
Ghost.
I forgot to finish the.
I'm actually gonna cry now for that crime against humanity. Okay.
Yeah, Mick, go.
Yeah, okay. I put Graduation at number 9. In my opinion, it's the worst from the Bear era of Kanye. Like on this one, he started to incorporate more electronics than he did on the College Dropout and Late Registration, and that kind of drags it down because of it sounds very dated.
He pulled
Like-
a Radiohead.
Yeah, he tried
was
to,
left
but it
turning
didn't
back.
age very well.
True.
But it's definitely Kanye's most dated album, in my opinion. But it's his most grand out of the Graduation era, in my opinion. There's still like great songs on there that actually still kind of hold up today. Like Can't Tell Me Nothing is a pretty good one, and I thought a lot of the samples that he used on this album were pretty iconic. Like Stronger is iconic for the Daft Punk sample. And honestly, I think it has some of his best hits on there. Like some of his best hit songs were on it, but ultimately it's dragged down by the datedness of the whole thing. So yeah, Graduation.
So at number 9, I picked The Life of Pablo, and I've got to say I was kind of, I guess you could say, confused about this album when I first listened to it. So
You're not alone.
quite odd. Yeah, it's
You
quite.
should have
strange.
heard it when it first came out. It was a
I heard.
mess.
I
No,
didn't
like
listen
the
to
original
The
version.
original, yeah. As I put down here, I didn't listen to the original version. I listened to the edited version, but I do know that it was unfinished and really not well mixed at all. But apparently, well, what I listened to was edited, so it was fine for the most part. It's a landmark album, I guess, and I think more than anything, I don't know. It's kind of difficult to even criticize it. It's so weird and different, I suppose. Tracks like Ultralight Beam, they're very gospel sounding, and I suppose it kind of it would go on to inspire his 2019 album Jesus is King.
Mhm.
Tracks like Famous, I really enjoyed. They rank among some of my favorite Kanye songs. It's unconventional, would be the best way to describe it. But it's also kind of interesting in how it does things. That would be my number 9 pick.
All right.
I am next, aren't
Yeah.
I? Yeah, I had Jesus is King. There's nothing really wrong with this album. Like I thought it was really interesting, the use of the different gospel aspects. But at the end of the day, I kind of agree with the rest of you saying that he's like bragging about being a Christian, but it's nothing. There's nothing like Christian about this album. It's just kind of ironic. But yeah, it's like in the group of his newer kind of shorter albums, and a lot of them weren't necessarily, well, they were rushed, but this is probably the most of all of them.
All right.
I don't really have much to say about it. Just not a huge fan.
Fair enough. Michal?
Yeah, my pick was Kids See Ghosts, and kind of agree with David that it wasn't the most interesting album for me. It's short, but like in that short length, it doesn't really explore that much, in my opinion. Like by the time it's over, it feels like there should be more. And I think it's really good on the production side, but when it comes to like the vocals and the lyrics, I think it's just good. It's not great. And I don't think it's even as interesting as Yay. I think Yay is even more interesting. But there are good tracks. In general, I think it's a good album, but I don't think it's a 10 out of 10. like Fontana would have said, I
Shots.
think it's like a 7. Yeah, that's my take.
I see.
Okay then.
So we're on
This
to
is-
number 8. Yes.
Wait, no, we have
our
to
favorite
best songs.
Oh yeah, shit.
Were Can't Tell Me Nothing, Homecoming, and I Wonder, and my least favorite song from Graduation was Barry Bonds.
For the life of Pablo, the best song for me was Famous, and the worst song was the Silver Surfer Intermission. So bad.
Best song on Jesus King, Use This Gospel, and Follow God, and worst song, Closed on Sunday, just for those fucking Chickafill lyrics.
My favorite songs on Kids See Ghosts were Reborn, Feel the Love, and I actually quite liked Free. My least favorite was Fourth Dimension. Alright, on to the next one.
Okay,
Number 8.
number 8 picks. I chose 808s and Heartbreak.
I picked Late Registration.
I've
no.
Yeah, yep.
I have watched The Throne.
I have Graduation.
Oh,
Okay.
my heart's been broken 3 times tonight. Speaking of heartbreak, number 8, I have 808s and Heartbreak. I like 808s. It's one of Kanye's most emotional albums. I can appreciate it for how influential it was and how different it was at the time when Kanye dropped it. Like, I can also appreciate it for like what he was going through at the time when he made the album, like with his his, I think it was his engagement like broke off and his mother passed away, and honestly you could tell that it was heartfelt, like the whole process of this album, like how dark and emotional the production was, and how emotional Kanye's performances was, especially since he sung for most of the album. Like, I think the album opened up with those like that synth that sounded like a heartbeat monitor. That's kind of gut wrenching to listen to at first when with context. And honestly, I could see why people don't like this album. Like, a lot of the auto tune that was used was off putting on a lot of tracks. Like on "See You in My Nightmares," it wasn't very utilized well. But honestly, on some tracks it was utilized pretty well, like on "Heartless" and "Welcome to Heartbreak." So yeah, 808s.
So for my number 8 pick, I picked Late Registration. To be fair, I like this album. It's like one of the first Kanye songs I ever heard was Gold Digger, and I thought it was fucking great, right? But it's the weakest of the barrier at Kanye, in my opinion. And I don't think if you put it next to his other albums that would come after it and before it, it doesn't really stand out quite as much as it did at the time. I think it is a very lush album. It's got a lot of hip hop tropes, and it's very much a pop album, I guess you could say. It's got loads of good hooks and good lines in it, and I think it has the most varied kind of emotions of any Kanye album. Go from hilarious like Gold Digger, serious like Diamonds from Sierra Leone, and poignant like Heard Him Say. It's a very emotional album, I suppose you could say, and it definitely expands a lot of themes, in my opinion. I will say it's too skit heavy. I didn't like any of the skits really. I thought they kind of a bit jarring and stopped the album in their tracks for a lot of it. I don't know if that's controversial or not, but I just wasn't a fan, to be honest. It's a good album, but just not in terms of when it came out, especially now. It's kind of a bit weaker. That's why it's at the number 8 spot for me.
All right. Bad take. Moving on.
Fuck you.
Bad take, but I respect you.
Bad take.
I'm only joking. Okay, David, go
Number
ahead.
5.
Yeah, mine was Watch the Throne. Again, I do actually like this album. I think Kanye and Jay-Z have really good chemistry on it. And a lot of the tracks are kind of like flowing back and forth. I like it. And obviously there's the standout tracks. But just a lot of the beats on this are just feel so, I don't know, like stagnant was kind of the word that came to mind on a lot of them. Like Welcome to the Jungle was just absolutely terrible. I hated that song. I think there's like, it's like the one with the weird piano behind it, isn't it? It's just, I don't know why I'm asking. Yeah, but just, it feels so old when you listen back to it. But obviously, like, there are really good hits off it, like No Church in the Wild and Paris. But other than, like, without Kanye and Jay-Z on it, everything else is just underwhelming, kind of.
Yeah, and right, my pick was Graduation, and I agree with Michael that it's the worst of the Bear albums. I think it's has a bit more pop influence than the previous albums, and I think it suffers from this. And it certainly has some like really good songs, but I think for the first time in Kanye's career, this album has quite a few duds, whereas the previous two albums I don't think really had much. And I think the production is solid throughout. I like the use of more electronic kind of beats. It was a breath of fresh air, but it's still not the caliber as it was on his two previous records. And also, I just don't think it was as impressive lyrically as the last two either. Great cover though. I like the album cover.
Yeah, the cover is
Nice.
iconic. Okay, best tracks from each of our picks. My favorite from 808s were Say You Will, Heartless, and Welcome to Heartbreak. And my least favorite was See You in My Nightmares.
My favorite song on Late Registration was, of course, Gold Digger. And my least favorite songs were all the skits and We Can Make It Better, which was terrible, to put lightly.
Off of Watch the Throne, best songs are Church in the Wild and In Paris, and worst is Welcome to the Jungle.
Graduation, my favorites were Good Morning, Glory, and Homecoming. And my least favorite was Drunken Hot Girls, probably.
Yeah, that song's pretty bad. Okay, number 7 picks. Okay, this one's going to be controversial. Number 7, I have The College Dropout.
What the fuck?
Wait, what?
What
the fuck?
Okay.
Okay, at number 7, I've watched The Throne.
I have Graduation.
I'm Jesus is King. You have no right to complain about us putting Consequence below now.
Okay, right. Just hear me out though. I think, look, The College Dropout is a great album. It's an amazing album. It was a great debut album, and especially refreshing to music as a whole, considering how back then, like, the most popular rappers out were like aggressive gangster rappers like 50 Cent. And it was unique to hear how talented Kanye was with his style of sampling and soul chopping. But where the criticism that I have for this album is that, I don't know, I'm not a skits guy. The skits, I know they're iconic, but there's far too many, and it kind of just halts the album experience for me. And like, I can appreciate Kanye poured his heart and soul into this album, and it's clear to see, like, he made Through the Wire, for fuck's sake. And I don't know, a lot of the songs on it just seem kind of dated. Like New Workout Plan, I fucking hate that song.
Yeah, fair enough.
Sounds fucking hilarious.
And Breathe In, Breathe Out. I just fucking hate Ludacris. And no, majority of the songs that are good in it, I think they're great. And I know it's very controversial putting The College Dropout at 7, but that's just my take. Don't try to murder me.
I'm gonna tut you. Okay, so for my pick, I picked Watch the Throne. As Kanye's first collaborative project, I don't think it's that entirely that deep. But it does have some of his hardest hitting bangers out of all the albums, in my opinion. I especially liked the tracks Otis. I thought it was a nice little kind of, how do you say? How am I fuck you, I'm not turning into a robot, shut up. I sound like I have schizophrenia because no one can see the chat, but I'm called a robot. Thank you. But I think tributes, like, the song Otis is a tribute to Otis Redding, kind of. I kind of enjoyed it. It's kind of smooth and jazzy. It's a fun little track. Ham's good. And the one where they're in Paris is quite good as well. They're all really fun tracks that I always liked to listen to, and they're pretty good. Some other songs in the album, aren't as fantastic, but that's to be expected, right? No one's fucking, not every album could be perfect. Especially New Day. I fucking hated that song. I thought it was terrible. But apart from that, I think for his first collaborative effort, it was really good, and it still holds up today. So there you go.
All right, David.
Yeah, I had Graduation. It was nice because this is probably like his most confident album. If you go not his most, but chronologically, it's between the two college albums. It is one of his most confident. Now that's nice to see after the last two, which were more like they kind of showed his struggles to get to fame. But then after a while, in like the 50-minute runtime, it kind of gets old. Like Drunken Hot Girls, I felt really uncomfortable listening to that. Like it gets really rapey at some points. Like it's weird. And then I quoted one of his lyrics in my notes here. He hates paparazzi more than Nazis was one of his rhymes. Just shit like that kind of, I don't know, to me brings it down. But I do love a lot of the like Stronger is iconic. I love that one. And Everything I Am and or is it Everything I Am or Everything I'm Not?
Everything I Am.
Like Everything I Am and Big Brother actually kind of, I don't know, they were really genuine and kind of brought a lot of sentiment to the album. That was missing.
Big Brother was about Jay-Z.
Yeah. I thought it was really cool. But like while I liked them, it was kind of a weird contrast between the like Drunken Hot Girls and them. But yeah, good album, but not his best by far.
All right.
My pick was Jesus is King. I think it's in general, I think it's pretty underrated. I don't know how knowledgeable about Christianity Kanye really is, but I do feel like he is passionate about what he's talking about. The gospel-like production, I think, is fresh. It's nice. As Louis said, it reminds me of Ultralight Beam. And I still has some bangers like Follow God. I really like that song. But the biggest like downfall of the album, I'd say, would be the lyrics, especially on some of the tracks. Are we all know? Yeah, so the lyrics are pretty much the biggest downfall of the album, but I still think it's good, just far from his best.
All right. Okay. Best songs from each of our picks. My favorites from The College Dropout were Spaceship, Jesus Walks, and Through the Wire. And my least favorite song was the new Workout Plan.
My favorite song from Watch the Throne was Nibbers in Paris. I did just say that, didn't I? Fuck. Anyways,
You didn't actually say it.
Industrial Sabotage. Anyways, and the worst song was New Day.
Of Graduation, Stronger and Everything I Am were my favorites, and Drunken Hot Girls was by far the worst.
My favorites on Jesus King were Selah, Follow God, and Water. And my least favorite was Closed on Sunday.
You my
Obviously.
Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A.
Hotline. Who?
Oh, okay, number 6
six.
picks. Okay, my number 6 pick is Yeezus.
My number 6 pick is also Yeezus.
Ooh, mine is also easy.
What the fuck?
Ah,
You ruined it.
just add the Yeezus and then we're fine.
Yeah.
In
Yeezus.
post, just like text to speech.
Don't even just use a previous episode and just splice in the audio.
Okay, Yeezus. I really like Yeezus. It's one of Kanye's most experimental albums, and honestly, the incorporations of all the industrial sounds and a lot of distortion, I thought it blended well. Like it had some amazing instrumentation, like like Blood on the Leaves, the Nina Simone sample, then with the massive like bass hit in the at the first minute of the track. It was great, and Black Skinhead had great production on it too, especially with the drums, and thematically the album it actually tackles like some deep shit, like a lot of it is mostly about racism, but that could also be intertwined as like Kanye bitching about the fucking fashion industry, and like it's true. And downfall of the album though, it has Kanye's some of Kanye's worst lyrics, like on like "Keep It 300" like the Romans, and fucking eating Asian pussy. All I need was sweet and sour sauce.
That's what's on my notes, anyways. Fuck.
Yeah.
So bad.
But ultimately, I really like how different this album is to any other that Kanye made, and I love how crafted it was. So yeah, Yeezus.
Okay, so this is number 6, right? I'm not being retired. This is our number 6 picks.
6, yeah?
6, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Yeezus. Why did I pick Yeezus as my number 6? To be fair, it's, I guess you could say, experimental. There's a lot of experimental production choices, and it is dark, violent, and the lyrical content is incredibly sexually explicit. I think at the time it was not really received too well. It didn't kind of blend in with any of his other stuff, but it kind of took on a new context because of revelations about his mental health at the time. It's almost like he's having a total manic episode while writing this goddamn album. And there's a lot of narcissism and I suppose hedonism, you could say, expected from Kanye. It is a blast to listen to. I mean, I will agree that fucking one-liner, eating Asian pussy, all I need was sweet and sour sauce, is fucking hilarious, and I personally fucking heard that. I like the beats on this album. I think overall it's one of the stronger ones in his whole discography. So I put it at number 6.
David.
Yeah, I'd use this as well. Funnily enough, I thought, based on like the beats alone, it was definitely one of his stronger albums. Like we saw a little bit of electronic stuff come in on Graduation, but he really went all in on this, and I fucking loved it. But yeah, lyrically not great, like you said. There's another line about it's like after the 300 and the Romans, and then he makes some Trojan reference. And I know he wants to just bring in condoms, but the Trojan horse was Greek, and it just annoyed the shit out of me for so long. And I'm sorry, but that's my big takeaway from this. And I think it's like the first time he kind of like left our plane of existence on "I Am God." Like that was the most narcissistic.
I Am God is a fucking great track though.
Can I just say,
Yeah,
lyrically, I forgot to mention this, but I'd say my second favorite lyric on the whole album has to be from Bound to 2. I know I got a bad reputation, walking round, always mad reputation, leave a pretty girl, sad reputation, start a fight club, Brad reputation. The rule of 3 is cool and all, right? You learn that in English. You don't do it 4 times, and you don't use the same word to rhyme with the same word 4 times. It looks awful and sounds awful. And don't, Jesus Christ, do not have a lyric that says "start a fight club, Brad reputation." It's shit.
Oh Jesus Christ!
My pick was Ye. I think it's very unique in Kanye's discography. I feel I don't like really know what album I would compare it to if I was to make comparisons. And even though it's short, only 20 minutes, I still think it's quite ambitious for its length and it just goes to a lot of different places. I think the production was great, and there's some hint of old Kanye in there with some of the soul samples. And yeah, I just think it was short, but in that short amount of time, it explored a lot of cool themes and had some great songs on it.
All right.
I thought everyone died.
Okay. Favorite tracks from each album. My favorites from Yeezus were New Slaves, Blood on the Leaves, and Bound 2, and my least favorite track was Guilt Trip.
My favorite track off of Jesus was Black Skinhead, and the worst was Guilt Trip.
W.
My favorite was On Sight and Black Skinhead, and least favorite probably Guilt Trip as well.
From Ye, my favorite was All Mine, Wouldn't Leave, and Ghost Town. Ghost Town is amazing.
Yeah.
My least favorite was Yikes.
Okay.
Number 5.
Number 5, I chose Yay.
Number 5, I chose Graduation.
I have Yeah as well for number 5.
I have Late Registration.
All right. Right. Yay. I really like Yay. I think it's his most underrated album. Mostly because people criticize it for its production, like apparently being too boring and being too minimalistic. But ultimately,
Incorrect.
whatever. Except on a few tracks, like on Yikes and All Mine, they were just very minimalist. And but ultimately, for me, I appreciate how the production takes a backseat to the topics on a few songs. Like for the most part, like the final track. Sorry, what was it called again? Shit.
Violent Crimes.
Yeah, Violent Crimes. Like the beat was very like background for that. Like as much as Kanye, for as much as Kanye does for his production, this was perfect for taking a backseat to the topic because like he talks about like now that he has a daughter, he like views the opposite sex like differently now, and I can appreciate that kind of maturity to some degree from Kanye, but then again, you know, there's bad lyrics on this album, obviously, as expected with Kanye, and like but there were some clever ones, like there was a few clever ones on Yikes. I actually love like the whole theme of this album revolving around like Kanye's like mental health like crumbling, like even the cover says it all. Like it's one that I appreciate for sure, and it's definitely one of like Kanye's underrated records.
Okay,
Maybe.
so now my number 5 spot, Graduation. Functionally, this is a pop album, but it's one of the best of the 2000s, I think. His production takes a big step forward on this project. You know, it combines, I guess, glamorous hip hop beats with a vibrant anthem-like choruses. It's a really, 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 really focused album, I guess you could say. It's very aspirational. It sounds like it could have been released yesterday. I must say the production on this is so much better than most of the other albums. It kind of blew me away when I first listened to it, I guess. It doesn't sound like it came out over a decade ago. It feels weird to say that it did. But it's not his deepest work, but it is definitely his catchiest. For me, Stronger was a standout, but I think that's universal for everyone. And Can't Tell Me Nothing is also pretty good on that, I have to say. It is an inspirational kind of song, I guess, or song, sorry, album. And I suppose I heard that the album sound was inspired by Kanye touring stadium rock acts like U2, which kind of helped him make some more intricate lyrics that would translate well to crowds, I guess you could say.
Yeah, like this whole album was made for stadiums.
Kind of, yeah. And for those reasons, I would put that at my numero 5 spot.
All right, David.
Yeah, I had yeah or yeah. I had yeah on the spot. I think it's one of his shorter. It is one of his shorter albums, but I think that kind of helps it. A longer album with this this kind of minimalistic style probably would have gotten a bit boring after a while. But the 20-minute runtime really suits it. I love a lot of the vocal performances on this. All the features are unreal. I love them. Ghost Town is an absolutely 10 out of 10 song. What's it?
Are we on to me or what?
Yes.
Right.
The fuck was
My-
that?
Everything cut out for a sec. My number 5 is it?
Sorry. Do you want me to finish that?
Yeah, something happened there. I know what happened.
Sorry, where was I? I was on Ghost Town.
Yeah, Ghost Town 10 out of 10.
Do you want to end? That was fucking brutal. Sorry. I'm fucking having constant barges into my room. I just lost my whole. I was talking about Ghost Town, wasn't I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ghost Town 10 out of 10.
Okay, yeah. Ghost Town is a 10 out of 10 album. I love the distorted guitar in it all throughout. I think that sounds really good, as well as that refrain. I'm not sure who it actually is that sings that.
It's Kid Cudi.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
About I threw my hand on the stone thing. That's like euphoric. But a really solid album out of him. Yeah.
Are we on 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my number 5 is Late Registration. I feel like it kind of acts like, in a way, a sequel to The College Dropout. I feel like aesthetically it's similar, thematically it's a bit similar, not as much, but I think it's like similar to The College Dropout in a lot of ways. But I think the thing that makes me rank it a bit lower is the fact that I don't think a lot of the tracks are as memorable as they are on The College Dropout. But like that being said, it's still a great album. There's no bad tracks really on this, and lyrically it's very strong. Production's still amazing, and I think it's a great album. Or I think we're at the point in the ranking where the albums are just all great.
Oh yeah.
All right. Best songs from each of our picks. My favorite songs from Yay were Violent Crimes, Ghost Town, and Yikes, and my least favorite was All Mine.
On Graduation, my best song was Stronger, and the worst was Drunken Hot Girls, because two lyrical bits that I despise out of that are, when you see cloves, close your eyelids. And the other one, people talk so much shit about me at barbershops and they forgot to get their hair cut. It's just
I honestly laughed at that one. I enjoyed that one.
so terrible.
It's like most Def could save that fucking song. Holy shit.
It's so bad.
Okay.
On You, my favorite tracks were All Mine and Ghost Town. And my least favorite was I Thought About Killing You.
Premeditated
favorite-
murder.
Oh
It
yeah. my favorites on Late Registration were Diamonds from Sierra Leone, Touch the Sky, Hey Mama, and We Can Make It Better. And there's not really any bad tracks, but if I was to choose the worst, I don't really care much for Gold Digger.
What?
Popular
What?
opinion.
One of the
I
best
don't-
tracks on that one.
Bad take.
Jesus.
It's alright. I think it's a bit overrated.
Bad take.
Okay. Number 4. My number 4 pick, Late Registration.
My number 4 pick is 808s and Heartbreak.
Mine's College Dropout.
Mine's Jesus.
Okay. Late Registration. To me, this has some of Kanye West's best hits, all culminated from the same album. Like it had Gold Digger, it had Touch the Sky, the opening track with was it Heard Him Say? I love the hook on that song. It it is essentially a sequel to The College Dropout, but personally I think it's more consistent than The College Dropout, and to me some tracks they sound less, it sounds less dated than The College Dropout in my opinion. Like I think some of Kanye's best verses were on here, on Diamonds from Sierra Leone. He actually touched on some pretty deep topics, and as well as a few other tracks, he talked about like racism, all that sort of stuff, his new status. For me, it had some of Kanye's best features as well. Like as I said, the hook on the opening track from Adam Levine, I actually really like that hook. We got great verses from the likes of Lupe Fiasco, Nas, and Jamie Foxx, and yeah, I suppose that's all I can really say about it. I think it's an amazing album. It's one of Kanye's best.
So I picked 808s and Heartbreak. I really like this album, I have to say. I think it's quite dark, and I like the new wave electro R&B that comes with it. This whole album is, I don't know, it's very emotional. I mean, he wrote this and wrote some songs about, the loss of his mother, and it's about his own personal demons. I think at least. You can definitely tell it's inspired loads of artists from the 2010s, most certainly Drake, and to an extent Juice WRLD, I think. Though I wouldn't have listened to
Travis
much.
Scott as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
as
think
well.
just like the whole trap wave kind of.
It was inspired by that album. Yeah, it's good, but it's like I don't know. The best way I can describe the whole album is the sound of decisions you regret. I mean, he had achieved everything he possibly could have, fame and fortune, and he was famous, right? But yet he's still, he's not happy, kind of. That's what I got from the album, anyways. But I really enjoyed this, and that's why it's at my number 4 spot.
Okay, David.
Yeah, mine was College Dropout. I obviously really enjoyed this album. I think I don't know, someone was giving the skits a bit of slack earlier, but I think they're really funny and they really help to break up the long run time of it. Some of them do kind of go on, but no, I do enjoy them. I think it's got really the theme of the uselessness of school that's kind of spoken about throughout. I really enjoyed that. I thought it worked really well with it. There's really solid instrumentation, and I like the use of a lot of vocal samples. One criticism is I think it ended really naturally on the second last track, Family Business, and then Last Call is kind of like, I don't know, it just drags it out for like a 12-minute track. I don't dislike Last Call, but I feel like it should have ended the track before. But other than that, I think it's a really solid album. But probably would have been higher if Late Registration didn't exist. I think the two kind of it's kind of like a sequel, and Late Registration is just so much better that it pushes this one further down the list.
Right. My 4, right?
Yeah.
Jesus. This album's like Kanye's take on the whole industrial hip hop genre that was gaining traction around the time this came out, and like you can hear straight away the production is completely different than what we've come to expect from Kanye. But I think he completely nails the style here. I think it sounds great. It's really raw, aggressive, in your face. The whole vibe of this album is just, it's great, I think. And lyrically, it's not the most profound Kanye album, but I don't think it's trying to be profound. I don't think it's trying to be deep. I think it's Kanye just having fun in a way, just probably having a mental breakdown, but
more than likely
rapping his way through it. And I think it's a fun album. I think it's got really cool production, and I think it's one of his best.
All right, so best tracks from each of our picks. My favorite tracks from Late Registration were Diamonds from Sierra Leone, Heard 'Em Say, and Drive Slow, and my least favorite track was Addiction.
So my favorite track on 808s and Heartbreaks was Heartless, and my least favorite was Pinocchio, or whatever it's Pinocchio Story. Sorry.
Yeah.
My favorite tracks on this were Graduation and Jesus Walks. My least favorite was Workout Plan.
My favorite tracks on Jesus were Black Skinhead, I Am a God, Blank 2. My least favorite track was Guilt Trip.
We all had Guilt Trip as our least favorite Jesus track.
We all agree on something.
Whoa.
Yay. Okay, we can complain about each other again. Okay, my number 3 pick is The Life of Pablo.
My number 3 pick is Kids See Ghosts.
Mine is The Life of Pablo too.
Mine is also The Life of Pablo.
Hmm.
Wow.
This means that we all definitely have. We finally made it to the point where we
You
definitely
never
have
know.
My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
You
or
never
something.
know. Well, I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah.
You do have it in your top 2, you retard.
Oh,
Yeah,
top 2. I thought you
but
meant
where
number
is it going to be?
1. Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh,
Right, go ahead.
go Mick.
So I'm talking.
Michael.
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't hear anybody for a second. That's been happening throughout the whole podcast. I don't know why. Basically, I picked The Life of Pablo as number 3. Although the track list is really scattered, ultimately I think it's Kanye's most consistent album in terms of song structure, and thematically, it's a pretty good album. Like, this album is mostly about how the old ways of partying, all that sort of shit, and his new ways with his new family to take care of, and that's shown like on the cover art as well. Like, the production is really different from anything that Kanye has done. Like, I don't know, he incorporated like more. Was it reverb on that? What was that one sound effect he used on like a load of tracks? But like, it had a fuckload of reverb on it, and
Yeah.
honestly, a lot of the tracks are just so good and extremely like catchy and memorable. Like songs like Real Friends, Father Stretch My Hands Part 1, Ultralight Beam. They're all amazing moments on the album. And to me, like, it's just great overall. It has great features as well, like the Kendrick Lamar feature on No More Parties in LA. And no shit.
What's that?
Sorry.
Business calls.
Go ahead, Mick.
Go Mick.
Okay. Sorry
Oh, it
about
was
that.
him. Oh fuck! I didn't think it was.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, there's great features on there, like the Kendrick Lamar feature on No More Parties in LA. There were some bad lyrics, like, the iconic bleached asshole line. And there's a lot of cuts here that sounds like they were from different Kanye albums. Like the song Wolves sounds like it could have been on Jesus. And ultimately, I quite enjoyed The Life of Pablo a lot. I like the kind of collaborative efforts that he did with other producers as well. Like he worked with Madlib on No More Parties in LA, and I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, The Life of Pablo.
My number 3 spot, I had Kids See Ghosts. This is a collaborative project with Kid Cudi, and I think it is one of his best albums. While being remarkably short, like just over 20 minutes, it's got a lot of thematic detail across its 7 tracks, and it might as well be a full release, to be honest. The themes of religion, drug use, psychological instability, and depression are all major themes in the album, combined excellently with Kanye's kind of psych rock inspired production. And I tell you what, Cudi really does do some good singing on this album. It's kind of, I'd say, profound in Kanye's discography, and I'm sure, give it a couple of years down the line, it's going to be remembered as a modern classic. There's not anything else I can really say about this album. I just really enjoyed it, to be honest, and that's why it's number 3 for me.
Yeah, I had Life of Pablo for my number 3. I was really surprised. The first time I listened to this was when I was listening through this podcast, and I was really surprised by the amount of fucking brilliant songs on this. I think like the beats and the instrumentals are restrained, but they're not lacking in anything. Like, I just thought they were perfect for a lot of the tracks, like Ultralight Beam and Father Stretch My Hands. Really enjoyed them. My brother informed me that there's a lot of TikTok songs on this, but I won't hold that against Kanye. But yeah, and it's just like super clean production in contrast to something like Jesus, which was like on the other end of the spectrum. Really enjoyed this. Yeah.
My
Bad
favorite.
album, sorry.
Like, yeah, I also went with The Life of Pablo. I think it's kind of like a wild card in Kanye's discography. There's just you can't really compare it to any other Kanye album at all. if I was to put it in simplest terms, I think this is kind of like an organized mess of an album, in the best way possible. That is, I think it's very creative. It has some very like emotional, beautiful moments. It has some just crazy and weird moments, and it has like its fair share of bangers. I think it's a roller coaster of an album, but like just highs. There's not really any lows. There are some tracks I don't care for too much, but there's only a few bad eggs, and I just feel like for years, this is going to be like a time capsule for like what Kanye West was in the late 2010s.
That
I
was a
think this,
very interesting time.
I think that's a good way to describe this album. This is a very Kanye album.
All right, now favorite tracks from each of our picks. My favorites from The Life of Pablo were Real Friends, Wolves, and No More Parties in LA. And my least favorite track was Part 2. It was just a glorified Panda remix.
My favorite tracks on Kids See Ghost are Reborn, and for me, worst track is Free Ghost Town Part 2.
My favorite tracks off Life of Pablo were 30 Hours and Wolves. My least favorite was Silver Surfer Intermission, or Silver Surfer Intermission.
You can't do interludes. That's cheating.
Oh, fuck you. I love Kanye.
Louis did it.
Fuck you.
Wait, he
Yeah, I
did?
did once. I did once. Leave me alone.
No one fucking...
Oh, God damn it.
My son ever again.
Right, we'll let him do the fucking interlude. Doesn't matter.
Okay, fuck it. Doesn't
My
matter.
favorites were Ultralight Beam, Famous, Father Stretch My Hands Part 1, Real Friends, No More Parties in LA. There's a lot. Least favorite, probably say Lowlights.
Yeah,
There's not much for that.
that one feels like more of an interlude to me as well.
No, it's got some length on it, isn't it? Like,
Top 2, fellas.
oh yeah, okay.
Now, I was conflicted for my top 2
I was
because
seriously
both-
conflicted.
both of these albums that I have, they're both 10s for me. Okay.
Same.
But ultimately, I went with the least controversial pick. Number 2 is Kids See Ghosts.
Okay. My number 2 pick was The College Dropout.
My number 2 is My Dark Beautiful Twisted Fantasy.
my number 2 is My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Ooh.
I have no right to complain.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, Kids See Ghosts. Fucking amazing album. It's an amazing like collaborative effort from Kid Cudi and Kanye, and to me, it's one of the better like successful blends of both of hip hop aspects and rock. Like to me, Kids See Ghosts is what Speeding Bullet to Heaven should have been.
Oh god, don't talk about that here.
Well, it's 7 tracks, and I feel like if it I feel like I do want more. I want to see another Kids See Ghost album in the future, and that's kind of a bummer. But ultimately, I feel like all 7 tracks on this album are amazing. They're produced very well. The themes of all the tracks together are great. The features were really good too, and it had some of Cudi's best vocal performances since Man on the Moon, and it had some of. I mean, there was some Kanye lyrics on there that are actually really good. Like there, I think it was the track Cudi montage. He had a clever line there. I can't remember what it was, but it hit me because how it actually seemed well crafted and good. Like the whole like theme of like mental illness, like on the whole album, kind of shows because like Kanye is obviously known for it, and same with Cudi, and I think that all culminated well to create like an amazing album like this. And I actually really enjoyed the psychedelic aspects of this album too. Like the song, like that whole like that free thing.
Yeah.
Like that was like if you were on like a fucking drug trip at Woodstock or some shit like that. That's basically what you'd be seeing, hearing in your head.
Yeah, no, I like that track.
Yeah, though, like I think my favorite moment on the album was like at the opening track, just after Pusha T finished his verse. Kanye just comes in and starts spazzing out like a fucking maniac. Like that shit was great. Like I fucking love that. So yeah, overall, like it's great. Like Kids See Ghosts is a great album, and I don't forgive you bastards for putting it fucking that low.
Zero.
Well, I don't forgive you for putting College Dropout at 7, so let's agree to disagree.
I
Okay.
only put it at number 3, so you can't be blaming me.
Yeah, I'm not blaming you. I'm blaming Michal and David.
Heretics.
Mihao.
Meow.
Meow.
Okay, Louis.
Okay, my number 2 choice, College Dropout, Kanye's debut and the best of the Bear era Kanye, in my opinion. I think this album is incredibly good. Probably one of the greatest rap albums of the 2000s. The themes of college, religion, and his place in the world are primary in the whole album, and it's kind of told with such attention to detail that he seems older than he is, almost like an old man giving words of wisdom to a younger person or something like that. There's some great features on here and memorable production choices, more or less invented a new wave in hip hop. It's a truly remarkable achievement, I think. And it definitely changed the face of rap at the time. And it still goes on to be an inspiration to many young rappers today. I don't know. It kind of stood out to me more than any of his other albums. It kind of resonated with me a little bit. And I think the just how it changed hip hop in general was incredible. It opened the floodgates for entirely new approaches to what rappers rapped about. That's why I put it at number 2.
I had My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy at number 2. I felt like it expanded on not necessarily all of, but some of the themes from 808s. But like the production musicality was just so much better for me. There was a lot of honesty from Kanye about past relationships and things like that that I appreciated. But there's never a perfect album, and Nicki Minaj's features in this just absolutely fucking hurt me. I absolutely despise them, and I think they just shouldn't be in it at all. But I guess his decision. Yeah, no, just like obviously Power is such a monumental track from this. I really enjoyed some of the other ones like Hell of a Life as well. That was pretty cool. Yeah, there was a weird interlude from is it Chris Rock about Real
Yeah.
me.
Jarring is how I'd call that.
Yeah, it was funny at first, but then went on for like 5 minutes. Strange, but I'll forgive Kanye's eccentrics. I guess it's a brilliant album. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a masterpiece. I think it's one of the most influential albums of the last decade, and just one of the best rap albums of all time. Like every song is a feature, like is a lesson in how features can be used in a perfect way, artistically. And I think the features really, Kanye on this album was amazing. He's very open. He's willing to share his mind, and he's open about the darkest and most twisted parts of his mind, as the name might suggest. But the features, I think, bring it to another level. And I think it set a foundation for like the whole next decade of music to come. And once again, the features are just great on this. The Pusha T feature on Runaway, amazing. Actually, the Nicki Minaj feature is probably my favorite feature on this album.
Seriously?
I think it's the
Yes.
best verse of her entire.
Am I alone here?
I don't agree with that.
I think it's the best verse of her entire career. I think
it's an
Well,
iconic.
It's not
That's like
difficult.
her
Her
career.
career isn't
Her career
great.
isn't great.
It's
fucking
an
awful.
iconic verse. It's been referenced in so many fucking songs over the past decade now.
Yeah, okay. It's on the same level as Shakespeare. All right, okay. Glad we got
I'm
that
not
out of the
saying
way.
that. Fuck that.
yeah, I just think it's a masterpiece.
Okay, best songs from each album. My favorite songs on Kids See Ghosts were Fourth Dimension, Cuddy Montage, and Free. And my least favorite track, I don't know, Fire maybe.
Favorite tracks off of The College Dropout would be Graduation Day and Never Let Me Down. The worst would be all the School Spirit skits. Almost said Street Spirit, holy fuck. And Lil Jimmy skit, I just thought it was crap. The worst of all of them, I think.
What about the worst song?
Fuck you, how about that? Family Business. Great.
Family business.
I didn't think it was good. Fuck you, I'm allowed to have an opinion.
New
Wow.
workout plan.
It's the whole. Oh, I completely forgot to put it down, but it is fucking terrible. That is.
I told you.
I put it down in the notes as the worst lyric on his whole album. You just popped in the Kanye West. So shit.
That's such a Kanye
You just
thing to
popped
say.
in the Kanye West. So bad.
It's so bad. It's so good.
Tell me who's invited. You, your friends, and my dick. Yes, good lyrical quality, man.
Okay. All right, David.
Favorite tracks off of Fantasy were Runaway of Power and Hell of a Life, and I really didn't enjoy So Appalled.
Oh,
Oh, you're
I really
disappointed.
I really like So Appalled. I thought
Disappointed.
My favorite tracks are Runaway, Monster, Gorgeous, and So Appalled. I didn't write down any of these favorites. It's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
it's a given.
Yeah.
Okay, number one picks. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
A late registration.
The College Dropout.
Mm.
Yes.
Wow.
Mm.
Easy.
Okay, My
Stop.
Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I mean, it's a fucking masterpiece of an album. What more is there to say about it? The album as a whole, to me, it's perfect. Like, the features were placed very well. The production was fantastic. It was grand, orchestral. It was dramatic. I loved that. And like the whole vibe you could get from the album, you felt Kanye went all in with this. Like, he did not want to fuck this up, especially since the VMAs thing. Like, he was basically an outcast at that point, but he had to prove himself to make a fucking brilliant album. Like, pretty much every moment on this album, I pretty much think is amazing. Like Nicki Minaj's verse on Monster, one of the best on the fucking album, and her whole career. Fucking Kid Cudi's chorus on Gorgeous was literally fucking gorgeous. I actually love the Gil Scott Harris. Is that his name? The
Heron.
Gil Scott Heron. I mean, sorry.
Harris, yeah.
Sorry. Basically, his like sample at the end, I thought that was a pretty cool way to end the album. The opening of the album, Dark Fantasy, beautiful. It was amazing. And Kanye just came in just with that clever demeanor that he always does, like on pretty much every track in this album. And Runaway, it's his best song. It's his best song. It's amazing. It's definitely the point where it's peak Kanye, and honestly, to me, nothing else could top My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Yeah.
Well, my number one pick was also My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and I think the way I describe it here is it is a kaleidoscopic magnum opus.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Whoa, busting out the thesaurus for this one, right? I mean,
Thesaurus.com.
this is an incredibly good album, I must say. I didn't think I'd think much of it, but I did actually really like it. I look at Fame with a totally unique lens. I don't know. It's also kind of immature in a way, but I don't know. I kind of like it because of that. There's samples from fucking everything, like, you know, King Crimson's on here and Elton John, for fuck's sake. I think his narcissism is in full force, like completely, but it doesn't take away from the album too much. I think it kind of adds on to it in a way. It never strays away from tackling dark consequences of his actions, which is another thing that I kind of like. Every track on this is a banger for the most part. bar one, which I will talk about when we get to worst to best songs on the album. I think it's a very futuristic vision, and the best one that Kanye could achieve. It's a mesmerizing piece of art, I think, and one of his most enduring works over the years. That's basically all I got to say about it. I can't really critique it more at all. So yeah, that's my number one pick.
I'm next.
Very good.
Yeah, Late Registration was my number one, and I can agree that it's probably not his most profound work. Like My Dark Little Left Fantasy might be more deep or meaningful than this, but like anytime I say that I want to listen to Kanye, this is the album that I'm talking about. Just every track on it, it's just so good. It's like got really intricate and like mixing to me. Not mixing, but tracks. Just every beat is just, there's a lot of effort put into a lot of it. Great features on everything, like from Heard 'Em Say, the opening track, that lyric from Adam Levine just works really well with everything. Tracks kind of flow into each other. Obviously, Gold Digger is it's a historic track off of it, but yeah, I just really enjoy listening to this album. Like, it's kind of what music should be to me. It's just fun.
That is true.
So my top pick is The College Dropout. This changed, by the way. This whole week, this was changing back and forth between College Dropout and My Bloody. No, My Beautiful
My
Dark Twisted. I almost said My Bloody Valentine. My Beautiful Dark Twisted.
My bloody
Beautiful-
English.
My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. It kind of alternated between the two, but I think in the end, I just had to go with this. It's if Nas didn't exist, this would be one of the best like rap debut albums of all time. The best rap debut album of all time.
Fair.
It's
Up
just
there.
the production is incredible. The use of samples are just incredible on songs like Through the Wire, or I love the sampling on Slow Jams. It's amazing as well.
Slow jam sampling is underrated as
Oh
fuck.
my god, it is incredible. Like prior to this album's release, he was already a pretty big name in the hip hop community, but when it came to production, like this album just cemented his name. He put his name on the map as an amazing lyricist and rapper, as well as an amazing producer. It's kind of like a lyrical journey of like Kanye's come up in the scene, and the storytelling on this album is like probably the best out of any rap album. Like it tells a story of how Kanye, how this whole thing, how every album afterwards would have come to be. And it's just a historic moment in hip hop. It's definitely a historic moment when it comes to Kanye. And I think it's his best album.
That's actually fair.
Let's go to our favorite tracks now.
Okay, my favorite tracks off of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy were Runaway, Gorgeous, and what was the other one? Fucking Devil in a New Dress. Fucking, I love Rick Ross's verse on that song. Least favorite track would probably have to be was it Blame Game? I think the one that had the fucking Chris Rock feature at the end of it.
Yeah, that was Blame Game. But the actual song itself is good. With
Or like Lame Game,
Legend.
am I right? God, that was fucking awful. I should be murdered.
Really at me.
Is it me? Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah.
On My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, my favorite was All the Lights and Power, and my least favorite was Who Will Survive in America, I think.
My most favorite off Lit Registration is Heard 'Em Say, Touch the Sky, and Gold Digger. And my least favorite, the fuck is happening? That's a tough one. I guess I
You don't have to do least favorites for this.
Okay, yeah, I love everything on this.
Easy taught me.
My favorites were Jesus Walks. I think it's tied with Runaway as Kanye's best song in my opinion. All Falls Down is incredible. We Don't Care is like such a good opener track. Slow Jams, the sampling on that is amazing. And
Twister verse as well was great.
Yeah, Through the Wire as well, of course. no least favorite tracks. I love this album from front to back. And I'll add one more thing. I think the skits on this album actually work really well. I really like the skits on this.
Yeah.
What the fuck was that?
They're actually pretty funny.
Okay,
I don't think
Kanye.
we ever ruined it, really.
Fuck you.
Oh, come on, bro. We made it to the end. We should celebrate.
We are here.
Right, should we... I'll mention the new schedule thing we're doing because from now on, most weekends we're going to be talking about new album releases that come out. And there's 4 albums I have lined up. I'll tell everyone what they are now because no one here actually knows. But
I know one of
we're
them.
gonna do that on our weekend podcasts. And the plan is to once a month on like a Wednesday, the last Wednesday of every month, we'll do one of these worst to bests because they're pretty fun to do and it's quite a...
It's nice to have a little debate about this shit and yell
it's
at each
fun.
other for putting the college dropout number
And
7.
so on the last Wednesday of January, which I think is the 29th, we'll do a Pink Floyd worst to best.
Yes.
Okay.
But
Now, what are the 4 albums?
Okay. Wait, I have them written down here. Give me a sec. Okay, the 4 albums that we'll be reviewing on the next week's podcast are I Disagree by Poppy, The Archer by Alexandra Xavier, You Can Never Have a Long Enough Head Start by Floral Tattoo, and the classic album that we'll be doing, picked randomly, is The Smiths, The Queen's Dead.
Yes.
All right. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Right.
Stay tuned for next week.
I thought you were going to put Mac Miller's album down there.
No,
That's
that's only coming out.
Yeah,
next
fair
week.
enough.
So
Fair
we'll do that the week after.
Okay. Right. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thanks for checking out the podcast. If you're interested, please subscribe and hit up the links in the description. So yeah. Bye.
Peace.
Donate to our Patreon.
Don't.
21st
They don't deserve
century.
it.
Inside, man.
Fuck off.